So, actionable insights with customer surveys. Don't you hate when you send a survey and your insight just isn't actionable? So, what we're going to talk about, an overview of Zoho Survey. I'm going to talk about what is this product like, how do you use it. A lot of it is really, really easy to use. So I'm going to kind of skip out the easy stuff that we often show at Zoholics of just like, oh, how do I build a survey? I drag and drop questions on. I'm going to cut to a bit more of the advanced stuff. I'm going to talk about market research. So how do you use survey to research a demographic? So if you don't have a list of customers, but you want to research people who fit a certain age and income level and that kind of thing, how do you do market research? Then I'm going to talk about deploying customer surveys. So how do you integrate this with Zoho Campaigns, Zoho CRM to send those surveys out, and other ways that you can take action from a survey. So let's get going. First things first, people always ask this, Zoho Survey is sold individually, so you can just buy Zoho Survey itself, but how many of us have one of these suites shown here? So Zoho 1, CRM Plus, Marketing Plus. Okay, that's most of us. So that's good news for you guys, because that means you already have access to Zoho Survey if you're paying for one of these. One of the other questions that I always get first is, why should I use Zoho Survey instead of Zoho Forms? Because they seem like they do a lot of the same things. And I love when people ask this question, because this gives me a great way to kind of give you an overview of some of the things that make survey special. So the first thing is there are more built-in survey questions. We have things like a Net Promoter Score question that are built in, so it's really easy to set that up. If you want to do like a star rating, like they have on Amazon, where you can rate 1 through 5 stars, or a Likert scale, where you say how much you agree on a scale from 1 to 5 with a certain statement, right? Or the ability to rank choices. So those are all things that are way easier to do if you're using Zoho Survey, or just not possible to do in Zoho Forms. So the NPS. So NPS is called a Net Promoter Score. This is a really popular kind of survey question. You may have got it before from some businesses. And basically it just means you ask how likely someone is to recommend your business to someone else that they know. And you give them options 1 through 10. And the NPS score is then calculated based off of how many people are promoters, and promoters are only 9s and 10s, right? So if we think about it, someone's ranking you 1 through 10. If they're giving you a 9 or 10, they're probably feeling pretty good. If they're giving you a 7 or 8, they're probably feeling like, yeah, you guys are fine. I don't feel super strongly one way or the other. And then if they're giving you a 1 through 6, something has upset them. So that's the idea of the NPS. And so you can calculate a score by taking the percentage of promoters and subtracting the percentage of detractors. And essentially, if your score is really good, then that means that your brand should be growing through word of mouth. And if your score is really bad, then that means you're probably going to be shrinking, because everyone's going to be spreading the word like, God, don't you just hate Comcast? Don't use Comcast, man. They suck. One of the great things about adding an NPS question in Zoho Survey is that all that work that goes into calculating that score is done for you automatically. So at the end of the survey, when you're looking at the results, it gives you this cool little dial which shows you your score. And you want to be somewhere in the green section, hopefully, because that means things are going well. And so why do we use an NPS score? Basically, it gives us a way to kind of gauge, are we improving over time? Are we getting worse over time? Are we plateauing? That kind of thing. All right, so that's one reason. Another reason is there's better reports for analyzing survey responses built into Zoho Survey. So we just showed you one of them. It was that cool little meter thing. Another example would be the word cloud. So if you're asking people for, written feedback on your business, the idea of the word cloud is that whichever words appear most frequently in everybody's responses are going to look really big, and then less frequently will get smaller and smaller until you don't see it anymore. So this gives you a way to maybe survey hundreds or even thousands of people and ask them for written feedback. You can still read those individual responses and get insights from those, but you can also kind of quantitatively look at, like, okay, if we send out a survey, like, what kinds of things are coming up again and again about this particular product? Oh, my iPad's too thin. My battery is always dying, right? It gives you an idea of kind of the general temperature of where people are at. So another reason to use survey instead of forms is that if you want to do something where you have multi-page surveys, or to be able to hide and show questions on the survey based off of how somebody responded, that is really, really easy to set up in Zoho Survey, and multi-page is not really very easy to set up in Zoho Forms. So this is just a screenshot. It's showing you the display logic option, and I can show this again later in the product. But basically, it's very easy to set up because it's all just a drag and drop kind of thing. So I can say, like, okay, if they rate me less than 5 stars, then show them another question, which asks, like, why did you rate me less than 5 stars, right? So I can take different courses or different routes in the survey based off of how a customer is feeling about me. And then finally, survey has some options built in for randomizing things. So if you're giving people like a list of options to choose from, like in this great example, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? We don't want to just put chocolate at the top every time because some people might be lazy. They might not want to read the whole list. They might just choose chocolate because it's the easy one and they just read the first thing. So what we could actually do to get rid of that problem is we can enable an option for any question that has multiple choice to randomize the order that it's going to show it in. So that way, chocolate doesn't appear at the top every single time. So now I want to talk about market research. So market research is actually a really, really powerful part of Zoho Survey that you might not have thought to use. And one of the things that's great about it is you can get statistics for a particular demographic. So have you ever seen like a business ebook or a white paper or something where, I don't know, let's just say it's like a business that's selling like blinds for the windows in your house, which are really expensive. Maybe they send out a survey of homeowners of a certain age who live in the West Coast or something, I don't know, and they ask them a bunch of questions about, you know, how much money are you willing to spend on this? What kinds of blinds do you prefer? What features are most important to you? And then they can have like a whole infographic or an ebook or a social media post that they put out where it says like 67% of homeowners want blinds that block the light in the morning, and 100% of people want blinds that don't break after one stupid year. So, you know, you can use market research to then have all of this marketing material you create from those statistics that you gather. And that can be just useful in so many different ways. Also, doing research is a great way to kind of up your SEO game, because a lot of times people want to write articles where they're sourcing some kind of stat or something that's already been researched elsewhere. So if you can put together infographics, you can put together blog posts that have like hard data that other people might want to link to, then you're going to get a bunch more backlinks onto your site. So, market research panels. So if you ever go to zoho.com/survey, there's this little thing at the top of the page that says buy responses. So I'm just going to click on B to C. And there's actually a calculator that it gives you to try and estimate how much is it going to cost you to buy a certain number of responses, by a certain time frame, with a certain number of questions, for a certain demographic. So there's different things that go into calculating the price. And so this is the calculator here to give you an idea. So, you know, I can drag the slider up. Let's say I want to have a survey that has 500 people and it has 5 different questions. And then these are all of the different ways that I can set my target audience. So I can set an age range, I can target genders, people in different countries, household income, marital status, education, employment status, industry. So there's a lot of ways you can add on a bunch of parameters and get really, really targeted results to your survey responses. And the way this works is that we've actually integrated with a partner who takes care of tracking those people down and sending them the survey. So you build your survey with Zoho Survey, and then they send it out, and you just pay to get your result of how many responses you want. So for 500 responses, they're estimating it would be about $1,000. And what I've found for a lot of these is you're typically hovering around $2 per response, in case you're wondering how expensive that tends to be. So we are sending out the slides in case you wanted to review what are all the demographics that you can use. Another thing to know about the market research is that you can disqualify people from the market research. So you can ask some questions up front, and then based on how they answer, you may realize, oh, this is not a person who's going to be relevant to market to. Throw them out. I don't want to get their survey result. Another way to do market research is with offline survey collection. So we have an app. You can use this on an iPad. You could have this just set up, in an office at an event. You could take it door to door if you want, and you can have a survey on there. And what's cool is you can collect all the responses offline, and then when you're connected to Wi-Fi later on, you just upload them all into Zoho Survey. So that's another way to do market research. Now I want to talk about deploying surveys. So let's talk about first embedding surveys on your website. Here is a website. I built this in Zoho Sites, and I'm going to go to their product design page. And if I scroll down, boom, it hits me with this little pop-up survey. And then I can ask, have you found what you're looking for on this page? Yes, no. How helpful was this? Not at all. And then we can ask, how could it be improved, et cetera, et cetera. So we can embed surveys onto our website. This is one option Zoho Survey gives you that you may not realize you have. So how does that work? I'm going to switch over to Zoho Survey here, open up my survey, and what you'll find with Zoho Survey is that there's a lot of things under the settings, the hub, and the launch that give this particular tool a lot more power. So under settings here, there's a bunch of things. We'll kind of come back to these later, but controlling the end page of what we want to show people is there, that kind of thing. The hub is where you go to integrate survey with different tools. And then launch is where you go to send that survey out or get a link to your survey, that kind of thing. So over in launch, we can do this. There's a website insert section. I'm sure this is hard to read from the back, which is why I'm zooming in. And we can embed our survey or do it as a pop-up. So if I click on pop-up survey, then what it does is, I've already set this up, so I'll hit reconfigure to show you what it's like. Basically, I can choose which pages on my site do I want this survey to pop up on. And then I can choose the pop-up timing. So how do I want this to appear? So for that site, it only showed up after I scrolled down, and that's because I set it so after scrolling 10% of the page, the survey is going to appear. But I could do it other ways also. So I could set it maybe after a certain number of seconds, after they want to exit the page. We could even get more tricky. We could use a script function call. So if we have some JavaScript that is, evaluating multiple things to decide when to show it, then we could have JavaScript launch our survey. And then we just choose a position. So I just chose the center. And then, most of these other options are not super exciting to cover. But that's how it works. And then after you've chosen your options, you hit generate code. And what it spits out for you is this crazy looking thing. And so basically, you just copy this code and you paste that into your website builder on whatever pages you want it to appear. Or you paste it in a header or something, so it's going to go on all of your pages, and you use Zoho Survey to control which ones it actually pops up on. And that's how you embed Zoho Survey on your website. But we can take this a step further. So besides having the survey pop up on our website, We could also integrate with Sales IQ. We're out there. Okay, so Sales IQ is a live chat tool. So if you've ever been on one of those sites where they have that little thing in the bottom right corner where it's like talk to a real person, that's like Sales IQ. And Sales IQ also tracks people who are on your website. So it can show you while you're chatting with them, like what page of your website are they on, what pages have they just looked at, that kind of thing. So one of the really cool features of Sales IQ is that once somebody chats with you, then the next time they come back to your site, assuming they haven't cleared their cookies, then it will identify them again. It will tell you, hey, John, who you were talking to last week, he's back on your website. So it can identify people which may be really important to you, right? You can identify, oh, this is a really high-value customer who I know I've sold stuff to before, and he just landed back on my website again. So with Sales IQ, a big part of it is trying to identify who are all these people on our website. Because when they first show up on the site, before they chat with you, you don't know who they are. And this is one of the things that Zoho Survey can help with. So if you have a survey where you're collecting, maybe somebody's name, phone number, email, you can use that and integrate it with Sales IQ by coming into the hub. You just hit integrate, and then you basically just match up like which question on your survey is going to have their email, which question would have their name, which question would have their phone number, and you only have to have the email. The other ones are optional. But then when somebody fills out that survey, they've got the cookie. So now that person will be identified anytime they land on your site. And as soon as they fill out that survey on your site, even if they haven't chatted someone, now your sales reps who are using Sales IQ are going to see who that person is. So we can also send out surveys with email campaigns. And one of the cool things about sending surveys through an email campaign is that you can pre-fill some of the survey responses. Because if you know who you're sending it to, then you can change the link for each person and add some tracking information. So that way, you can, one, identify who is it filling out your survey without even necessarily having to ask them who they are. But two, you could just save them some time and, kind of show you their email is pre-filled and that kind of thing. So we're going to talk about how you do that. So how do you pre-fill survey responses? You use this dark art, this marketing black magic called URL parameters. Usually I think of this as like a link I get to like an Amazon thing. You click that link and you go, what is all of that BS at the end of the link? This thing's like hundreds of characters long, and there's all these weird symbols and letters and numbers and stuff. I don't know what any of this means. Usually, if you get a link that's super long and has a bunch of mumbo-jumbo in it, it's because there are URL parameters in there, and those parameters are actually tracking what you're doing. So it's tracking who you are and how you got to Amazon's page. So you can actually do things like this using Zoho's tools. So the basic way that this works is you start with your basic URL, example.com, and then if you add on your parameters, you have to just follow a specific format. So the first parameter, it's always question mark, parameter name, equals, and value. So if we wanted to track that joe@gmail.com is going to the page, then we would go example.com, question mark, email equals joe@gmail.com. Okay, so how do we set up something like this so when we send out an email campaign, each person who gets that link is going to have it customized with their information so we can track them. So I'm going to switch over and choose a different survey here in Zoho Survey. I'm going to go to my builder, and when I go to launch my survey, there is a whole section called distribution. And under distribution, I can choose email campaigns. And it shows me MailChimp and Zoho campaigns. So you got two options there. And I'll show you in Zoho campaigns how this works. So in Zoho campaigns, it pops up a new campaign. I'll just call this customer survey, so Holix or something. Subject line, take our survey, I don't know. Topic, I'll just put it in the marketing topic, and then we can choose like our sender name. So we set up our survey, hit next, and then we can choose a template for our survey. So I'm going to choose pre-designed templates. And what's nice about this is it knows I'm sending out a survey, so it's already filtered my pre-designed templates to the survey template category. So all of these are kind of already set up as though we're sending a survey out. So I'm just going to choose this and come in to edit the content. So, we could swap out our logo. I'm not going to turn this into an entirely Zoho Campaigns kind of demo here, but what we want to be able to do is take a look at this button that links out to the survey. So it's automatically, if we zoom in here on the left, it's added in a survey URL here. So this has automatically got the URL for that particular survey, and it's going to paste it in. But what happens if I want to track like this person's email? So what I could do is I could add in a parameter. So I can say, and email equals, and then I can click this little button here, and I can pull up merge tags. So I want to get the email, the contact email, and it pastes in that merge tag. So now, essentially what we're doing is we're recreating what I was just showing you on the slide, where we're adding in that parameter with each person's email that we're going to send it to. So that's how you set that up in Zoho Campaigns. But then there's also a couple steps you would want to go through back in Survey to make sure that it's going to track that email properly. So over in Zoho Survey, then what I would do is I would go to the advanced options for the survey. And when you click on advanced options, there's this area called custom variables. And so I've already set this one up, but basically you just add a variable and you give it a label. So what I did is I called this label email, right? It's the same exact word that I'm going to use in Zoho Campaigns. And that part is important. Whatever you type here, it has to be the same exact thing that you put into your Zoho Campaigns link in order for these two things to match up. So now that I have that email thing set up, I'm going to kind of actually show you this in another page. When I open my survey link, you see we have this email question. So if I type in email equals, I'll just put in Dylan, my name, right? It's actually pre-filled. Whatever I put after that equal sign gets pre-filled into the email question. Pretty cool, right? So that's what Zoho Campaigns is going to do for us. It's going to take all of those contacts' emails, and it's going to put them into the URL, and then Zoho Survey is going to grab whatever is in that URL, and it's going to put it right here and record it for us. And then what we could do, if we want to get real tricky, is we could come in here to our email question. We could go to the display logic, and we could say, never display this question. So we could be tracking the email of the person who filled out the survey without them realizing that we've even tracked it. So that's what marketers are doing to us all the time. I know a lot of us are marketers, and we probably know about this already, but I'm sure some of you have always kind of wondered, how do you get to that level of being able to track people? And that's kind of how that works. I said earlier, slides are going to be shared, but I know that was a lot of steps to go through, so I wrote out the steps that I went through for setting that up on this slide, so you can reference that. Another thing I wanted to talk about is SMS integrations. So we have integrations with like Twilio, Clickatel, SMS Magic, if you want to be able to text out your surveys, which can be really useful. Like, people don't check their email as often as they check their texts, so that can be really useful. More ways to take action. So how do you connect people's responses back to Zoho CRM? So I have this customer survey. What if I wanted to, for example, take this NPS question and have that populated into Zoho CRM? So there's a few different ways that we could manage this. And I'll show you what I think is one of the best ways. So first thing, inside Zoho CRM, let's say I want to be able to automatically send out a survey maybe a week after a deal closes and ask that customer how they feel about our business at that point, and then be able to track that answer back to their contact in Zoho CRM. So the way that I could do that is I go to my CRM setup, and I can just search for email templates. Click that, and I've already made one here for sending a customer survey. You know, I didn't make this look super pretty. You can spend more time on it. Basically just says, take our survey, you might get an Amazon gift card. Great. And then what's cool about the CRM survey integration is that in order to add a link to my email template, usually you would just start with like web URL, right? This is probably what we're used to doing. And then we would paste in like a link to some page on our website. Well, if you click on this little arrow, there are other options, including forms and survey. So I could click a Zoho Survey. I could choose which survey I want to send out. So I'll say like this customer survey email campaign. And then I will save that. And so basically, when I send out that survey link, as long as I use that option, it's going to automatically include all of the tracking information that we need. So when we're sending out the email from CRM, CRM knows, okay, which contact are we sending this to? What's all the information about them? So it adds in those URL parameters for us automatically, and it even goes a step further and it encrypts them. So, you know that thing I was talking about? You get the really long Amazon link with all those numbers and letters and stuff, and you go, what does that mean? It's all basically an encrypted way of tracking you without exposing any of your information. So CRM will do that for you automatically. And then I will just leave this email template. I'll show you what it looks like once you've sent it out. So here's a customer, Pat Strami here. So once we've turned on the CRM and survey integration, then when you're looking at contacts in CRM, you'll see a survey-related list here. And we see a 1 on this particular customer because that means they've answered 1 survey from us. And so that related list, it's going to tell me which survey did they fill out. It'll allow me to send another survey if I want to send a different one to them. I could take a survey on their behalf. I can view the response they gave to every single question. So if I'm a sales rep, that gives me a lot of really valuable information about what that person is thinking of us at any given time. And then real quickly, I'll show you there's another way to kind of integrate with CRM. So over in Zoho Survey, if you go to the hub, you choose Zoho CRM. You can choose a module to connect with. I'll choose contacts. And then it gives you all these options where you can add or update records in your CRM. And you can basically just map a survey question to a field in Zoho CRM. So basically what we could do then is if we wanted our sales reps to be able to sort all of their customers by NPS, right? Who's a 9 and 10? Who's a 7 and 8? Who doesn't like us, right? We could just add a custom field in Zoho CRM that's an NPS field. And then we use this integration and we map our NPS question to that field. Now anybody who fills that out, it's going to show up in that field and our sales reps will be able to use that. So that was my super quick version of the CRM demo. All right, well, thank you very much.